I've said it before. I'll say it again. Welcome to the most boring sports time of the year. Thank you for checking in on your sports talk show, the Cam Show, Rogue Media Sports Network. And while it will be, boring, there's not a lot of high-stakes sports going on, really till football starts in a month and a half, the real games. But if you're a fan of the Boston Red Sox like I am, and most of you listening are, then it actually has a lot of intrigue to it. In fact, more than it has in a couple of years, because shockingly, the Red Sox are very much in this thing. They're a playoff team right now, and they could well be a playoff team at the end of the season. Something that was a far cry from what we were expecting before the season started. In fact, I was predicting them to be right up there with Oakland as the worst teams in the American League. It has not turned out to be that way. The incredible frugality and lack of awareness from the front office and not being able to take the temperature of the fan base and being incredibly cheap and wondering just how long this rebuild is going to be, well, all of a sudden, it looks mouthwateringly good because they have got a plucky team of underdogs who are in a playoff spot, and right behind them, they have the best farm system they've had in a long time, ready to bring some real everyday position players in as soon as next year. Some of the top prospects in baseball. Wow. Boy, has this changed for the Red Sox. And very quickly, it has changed for the Red Sox fans. Not unlike 2013. I'm not saying this team's as good as 2013. But in that year, last place the year before, expecting to be last place again. And by the time you get to this time of year or August, you're like, oh shit, this team could actually win something. This team could win something. And they could be in the postseason. Like that is, which is winning something for this team because of what we had for the expectations at the beginning of this season. They're actually a half game out of the second wild card, but they're only 4.5 behind Baltimore and 3.5 behind the Yankees in the AL East. Again, that lead was 14 games behind the Yankees a month ago. And now it's 3.5. Shades of 78 reversed, anyone? Because this team's come out of nowhere. Jarren Duran, quadruple A player, all-star game MVP, one of the best, pure hitters in the American League this year, wreaking havoc on the base paths and playing a pretty damn good center field. Rafi Devers, money gets to his head, slow start to the season. All he's been is the best power hitter in baseball the last month. He's terrorizing teams. Ceddanne Rafaela, the next Mookie Betts. Oof, man, really? This guy, did you see him at the end of last season? See him at the beginning of this season? Only hits when it matters. Wilyer Abreu. Boy, if you have Wilyer Abreu as the fifth guy in your lineup, you know it's a bad team. He's going to finish top 5 in the AL Rookie of the Year voting. Book that. Masa Yoshida, when's he going to figure it out? Last couple of weeks, he's starting to figure it out a little bit. Starting to look like a 300 hitter. Oh, but your best pitcher coming into the year, Brian Bayo, he's stunk. Yeah, but look how freaking good Tanner Houck has been. All-star. Cutter Crawford hasn't gave up a run in his last 48 outs he's made. Nick Pivetta, serviceable. All of a sudden, you've got a team here. You've got a team. Dom Smith. Talk about making noise. Who the hell is Don Smith? Mike Felger might not know who he is, but the Major League Baseball world knows who he is now. Certainly the pitchers in this league know who he is. So how realistic is this? Because, I mentioned they're technically not in a playoff spot right now. They really kind of are. But the Fangraphs odds has them at a 53% chance to make the playoffs. 53%. If I told you that before this season with this Red Sox roster that we were looking at, and oh yeah, Tristan Casas is going to be out for 2 or 3 months, you would bite off somebody's hand for that. Here it is, 53%. And still a 3.5% chance to win the division. Weirdly, the Yankees actually have the highest odds to win this AL East, which I think is crazy, even though they don't have as bad a schedule as the Orioles do. The Red Sox are really looking at a postseason team. And if Alex Cora gets this team to the postseason, boy golly, Can you afford him? We'll see. Not fun to do on an expiring contract to have a manager have this good a year. But looking ahead, this has changed everything the last few weeks. The Red Sox are in a really weird position as it comes to the trade deadline, which we will talk about as it gets closer, because they're not in a position to trade their prospects. This is, again, as good a prospect pool as they've had in 7 or 8 years. And they have stripped down that farm system and done a lot to build that back up. You're good, but you're not that good in order to start trading some of these top guys. But on the flip side, you want these guys, these prospects, to be up at the big club next year, or have a chance to be up with the big club next year. And to do that, they got to be on the 40-man roster. And a couple of them are not. So you have got to work them into the 40. So the Red Sox could be in a position where they're trading everyday players for other everyday players on expiring contracts. And one name that I think Red Sox fans are going to love to hear, that I think is a good option for this team, because they probably need another starting pitcher. Tanner Houck's already hit his career innings limit, or career innings high. Cutter Crawford has got to be close to that, if not surpass that. So you need another pitcher. How about a guy on an expiring contract who is in his mid-30s but hasn't been injured this year, won the World Series last year, has been a top-of-the-line starter for the last couple of years, and a great postseason pitcher. And, oh, yeah, he did that for you as well. Nathan Eovaldi. Why not? Half a year left on his contract at $16 million. Has a player option for the next year. Why not? You need a top-end guy. There's a top-end guy. You know, we've seen it. You don't have to sell the fans on Nate Eovaldi. We've seen Nasty Nate before. We've seen him lead us to postseason success. We have seen him leave it all out there on the field in a World Series. We have seen him play every role you want for him on a World Series roster, and then be your ace on a team that was 2 wins away from the World Series. Yeah, this feels a lot like 2021. A lot like it. There wasn't many expectations going into that year. It was still part of a rebuild. 2020, the COVID season, they were awful. And all of a sudden, kind of like this year, guys you hadn't heard of start to plug in some holes, and the team starts winning. And right around this time in 2021, we were like, hey, this team might actually go there and win something. They haven't been 11 games over 500 at this point in the season in 3 years. And even then, it was like, well, this is going to get spoiled. 2022, they had a good start. In June, they had a good little winning streak, but you're like, can't win in the division. Lo and behold, they couldn't win in the division. They didn't make the playoffs. The wet blanket on this Red Sox thing is they do have a tough schedule down the stretch in the last 70 or so games. Not as tough as I had originally thought when looking at the schedule. It's actually the 10th toughest in all baseball, so in the top third there. But 7 against Baltimore, 7 against New York, 3 against the Dodgers, which comes up right after the break, 3 against the Twins, 3 against the Royals. The Twins and the Royals, those are the 2 teams you're going to be battling for that wild card spot, and 3 at the end of July against Seattle, who won't be battling for you in a playoff spot at that, or a wild card spot at that point, but wouldn't be surprised if Houston takes over that division. A lot of that's this month. You got another series with the Yankees this month. You've got the Dodgers right out of the break. You go Yankees and then Mariners to close out July. You've also got 3 against the White Sox. You've got 3 against Colorado. You've got 8 against Toronto, who are fading fast. You've got 6 against the Texas Rangers, who are not good, but are going to be playing some desperate baseball. They're close enough to be playing desperate baseball here in August. First series in August is when you face them. And then 3 against Detroit as well. So those are kind of the both ends of the spectrum. But you look at a team that's right outside a wild card spot right now, and the 10th toughest schedule in baseball. Can this Red Sox team withstand that? I think they can. I really think they can. You get Casas back. You add an arm. There's still, a going for it scenario where they get a big right-handed bat, someone like a Pete Alonso. That's on the table. You get Bayo to pitch well. Bayo's not been good this year. I think you've still got some good baseball left in him. You've shored up your defense a little bit. Ceddanne Rafaela will still have ups and downs to close out this season, but I think there's reason to believe there's still a good hot streak left in him and Wilyer Abreu and Masataka Yoshida before the end of this season. And oh yeah, I think I've said it before, but you get Casas back too. This team is going to be one to be reckoned with, and I'm fascinated to see how they handle this trade deadline. They could stand pat, and I would think they have a good chance still. Not as good a chance as I think right now, but I think they could be a playoff team even if they stand pat. I really do. But it's no guarantee. Anyway, this is going to be a fun, exciting second half of Red Sox baseball. I'm so in for it, man, because it's been dead the last couple of years. It really has. And really, it's been one season that wasn't dead since they last won the World Series in 2018. So I'm excited to see some meaningful baseball for this team in August, in September, and hopefully October as well. We got to talk about the top 100 athletes of the 2000s, at least according to ESPN. And boy, they don't like hockey yet. They still don't like hockey yet. And the songs that we've heard way too much. That's all that and more coming up on The Cam Show, Rogue Media Sports Network.
We are Rogue Media Sports.